Welcome to the Sack Stats podcast with my girl Kelly in Vegas. I'm Pam Maldonado, and we are bringing you 5 against the spread contest picks for Week 9 of the NFL. Kelly, my girl, your best bets have been on a roll as of late. What do you think's changed between you?
Think long, think wrong. I'm just playing what I like. And listen, there I played a couple of favorites lately, but again, my analysis last week on the Falcons was just very basic. Who the hell are the Falcons to be laying 3 on the road when they can't score on the road? And it worked out really well. Will Levis 4 touchdown passes. I got to see it in person. So same thing this week. I'm on a team that's been really good to me. I'm now 3-0 betting this team, hopefully to be 4-0 by the end of this week.
That's interesting. No, you've definitely been hot as of late, whereas I've been kind of on the cold burner. That's fine. So here's the thing about me. I've noticed that I had a buddy of mine tell me, Pam, all of the picks that you send for Survivor, none of those make your card. Huh, you're right. The last week I loved the Vikings, I loved the Saints. Didn't bet any of them, none were my best bets. Previously I loved the Bears, previously I loved the Broncos. All these games I'm getting right, and then none of them are ending up as my best bet. I think I'm overthinking things too. So this week I just kind of went with the bucket mode, and I'm just going with common sense. Common sense for the week. So what we're doing, just as a reminder, it is 5 against the spread contest picks in the NFL. Each week these lines are released on a Wednesday, and they are set lines and do not change. Automatically in is Kelly's best bet, automatically in is mine, and together we come up with the other three. This week I kind of maybe want to do something different. Last week we finished 3-2, which is good, but aside from your best bet, which we're about to get to, how do you feel about this week's slate of games?
I actually was just on X, aka formerly known as Twitter. I saw a hilarious tweet, Pam. Maybe I actually have it in my text, based on this week's quarterback matchups. And it would really explain why I don't like any of the games. Basically, we're looking at
Oh,
teams like, where did it go? Okay, I think it's right here. No, I can't find it. Somebody sent it to me, but it was like, cool. We have guys like Aiden O'Connell under center. We have no more Desmond Ritter. Now it's Taylor Heineke. We have a lot of what ifs, right? And I still
right.
laughed. I was like, yeah, but it's still Jordan Love. He's still their starter, even though he gets to play Brett Ripon now. It is funny how halfway, if you will, week 9 through the NFL season, we have a bunch of guys that I'm not sure if they should be NFL quarterbacks or not. So it makes it really difficult to navigate. And luckily for me, I have some really sharp guys who have these guys power rated to say Brett Ripon is a 4.5-point drop off or 5.5-point drop off from Matthew Stafford, things like that. So that we know if there is value on betting that backup quarterback. So I actually did
Mhm.
not pick a game like that though for my best bet. I wanted something that I felt really confident about and not that I would be guessing, but just guessing that Brett Ripon is going to be a serviceable quarterback or that Jordan Love isn't going to throw 2 picks or anything like that. I know exactly what I'm
Right,
getting from Geno Smith. Why? I've been on Geno Smith
right.
3 times this year. Once at the Detroit Lions, outright winner. Once we had him in Survivor, and I also laid it with them against the Cardinals. Second half sweat. And then last week, I tailed my good friend John Murray. He loved Seattle. I don't know how they won that game. They were down 3 scores. Doesn't matter. They got it done for us. So, one thing I will say is I have a futures ticket on the Baltimore Ravens, 20-1. I have them as my Super Bowl winner. I said they were going to win the AFC North. So, this saying that out of one side of my mouth and then out of the other side say that I'm taking the points with Seattle and I think they're going to win this game outright sounds a little funny, but it's more of a situational spot here, Pam. Pete Carroll
Right.
in 5 years as a road underdog in non-conference is over 60% against the spread. No wonder I love them in this type of
Mhm.
spot. Once I figured that out, I was like, well, no wonder I keep wanting to bet on them. And then you've got the Ravens, right? They went and handled business against the Cardinals. But as you know, our good friend Errol Epstein is a Ravens fan. So we were sitting there watching that game. And I'm not going to lie, in the first half of that game, I thought, boy, the Ravens look a little rough. Now, did they
Mhm.
ultimately destroy the Cardinals? If you look at the box score, you would not have known it was that close in the first half. But who
Right.
do they have on deck? Oh, wait, not one, but two divisional opponents in the Browns and the Bengals in the following 2 weeks. Do
Mhm.
NFL teams look ahead? Yeah, I think they actually do. And I do think that we are going to see Seattle as a road underdog come in here and handle business once again. Do I think Seattle's going to win this game outright? I actually made the game 3. So I did sprinkle a little
Mm.
bit on the money line, but I trust Geno Smith. If he can just be above average, Pam, we're going to have a really
Mhm.
good football game on our hands. Again, this is a team that is now sitting in first place in the NFC West. Ravens, 1.5 game lead in the AFC North. We'll see. Maybe this is a possible Super Bowl preview. How wild would that be?
Isn't it funny how we're just asking for quarterbacks to just be basic? If you're just basic and just average, then more than likely we like you as an underdog and we think you can win the game outright. That's the kind of season that 2023 year of quarterbacks is having with these teams in the NFL. That's absurd. I don't disagree with your pick. I'm definitely going to leave you with your best bets. They have been on a roll. With my best bet, I'm just going with the fucking obvious. Oh, dang it. I didn't mean to curse. Jill's going to yell at me. I didn't mean But I am going with last week
That's what we have
I was
Robbie
like
for.
the
He can
Bengals.
he can bleep it. He can bleep that for you. He had bleeped like 6 during bet on it this week because after my K-State Texas preview that I so kindly wore purple for Pam and it's showing up blue on the screen. It's just an epic fail by me today.
Well, I'm going with what I wanted to go with last week as well. I was like, the Bengals. I'm backing Joe Burrow out of a bye. It looks too easy. You know what? And it really was. So I'm going with it again. Bengals -2 against the Bills. Joe Burrow is back, in my opinion. The Bengals offense is back. Last week against San Francisco, there's 8 plays of 15 plus yards. That doesn't sound like it's a lot, except the Bengals offense had 14 total in 6 games. All we needed from Joe Burrow was for him to be healthy because we know what type of production that he can produce previously in back-to-back seasons. We've seen it. We know that they were a better team. He just was coming into the season a little bit banged up. We just needed Burrow to be healthy. Well, guess what? He's now healthy, and now the offense is starting to click again. Passes the eye test. You can clearly watch any Bengals game and know that Joe Burrow and the offense is doing well. But then you also see it in some data points. The offense is so efficient that they're not seeing third down often. It is the lowest rate in the last 3 weeks versus the second most prior. And then Jamar Chase, you know that he was complaining about he doesn't get the ball. Well, now he is getting the ball. In the last 3 weeks, 4 touchdowns, double-digit targets, 12 yards per reception, and he had 9 prior. Now, because the offense for the Bengals is so efficient, now the defense is clicking as well. Why? Because they're getting more rest time. 8 turnovers in the last 3 weeks, 6 of which are interceptions. Josh Allen against 3 solid defenses this season: the Jets, Jaguars, Patriots. 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, has thrown an interception at least one in each of his last 4 games. And he's coming into this game with a injury to his throwing shoulder. I love his prop to throw an interception. Bengals get the cover, 2-point favorites. What do you think?
I tease the Bills, but I don't hate it. I do think Joe Burrow has been playing much better. Remember, we talk about this. Now, it's where my world gets a little like, I don't know, overlapped, I guess is the best word, right? So, like, I'm in this high stakes
Right.
fantasy league. Now I'm working for a fantasy company. Now I've been doing sports gambling for a better part of, 12, 13 years now. So, there are correlations there, right? And remember, I kept saying, I don't want to take the
Right.
Bengals. I don't want to take the Bengals. I don't want to take the Bengals. And then I started saying, okay, now it's time to take the Bengals. And that was because we saw what Joe Burrow's injury had started to progress like. His team started to be more
Right.
cohesive and play better together. His O line
Right.
started blocking better. I
Right.
just got a trade offer to dump Jared Goff, and I got Joe Burrow, and I'm thinking maybe we just let it go. We need a running back really bad, right? Like we have a hurt team, and Joe Burrow has kind of started to creep upwards. I mean, that game last week versus the Niners, I thought, oh boy, here's Brock Purdy. The line opened 5.5, went down to 3.5. I said, oh boy, here's Brock Purdy. This is going to be a great game. It wasn't a great game. The Niners are not
Right.
well. They are not playing well. You know who's
No.
playing well? The Bengals. So I don't blame you.
Right.
This is a Bills team that has just really struggled on the road. Maybe that was divisional where they struggled on the road or in London. But still, this is an interesting game here from a situational perspective. If you remember last year, this was the DeMar Hamlin game. So there could be a lot of emotions
Mhm.
going, but I do agree with you here. I like the Bengals.
So those are our two best bets that are automatically plugged in. For Kelly, she's backing the Seahawks +6 to the Ravens, and I'm backing the Bengals 2-point home favorites to the Bills. Now, you said that you didn't like a lot this week in the NFL. I actually did. There was another game that I really, really loved that was very close to making my best bet. And I sent it to you for Survivor, and you're like, Pam, underdog. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, if I think an underdog is going to win, then why am I not going to include them in my Survivor?
Okay. I agree with Pam's idea. So I asked her, I said, Pam, let me send you the spreadsheet so you can understand like the method to my madness. And she goes, no, I like the way it's working. I'm like, fair enough. It is working. It's working. And she saved us from taking the commies and one other loser. So how our little trio is doing, we're just going to keep it as is.
We got it going. And this week I like the Dolphins plus 1.5 to the Chiefs. First off, are we in agreement on this before we proceed? So then I do really love the Dolphins, and I'm gonna end up wagering this just because you have Miami, which is the number one offense. Duh. I mean, you have Tua Tagovailoa, you have some of the best receiving weapons in the league, and the Chiefs, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, as good of a coach Andy Reid is, as good of a tight end Travis Kelce is, the Chiefs are having some offensive issues. Why did I want to back the Why did I want to back the Broncos last week? Because of the offensive issues that they're having. And look, the Broncos ended up winning outright. But the whole question is, you are going up against the number one offense with Miami. Can Patrick Mahomes keep pace? I can't believe that's an actual question, but it is. The offensive problems that they're having, which is why I faded them against Denver, was against lesser opponents. It's working for them. But now you're struggling in the red zone. Your offense is producing yardage, fourth yards per drive, second best at converting third downs, but you can't score. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense cannot score, especially when it matters in the second half. 5 touchdowns in the second half of games on 39 drives. Now, I was thinking about it. If you are an offense as good of a quarterback as you have, what are some of the problems? Why are you having red zone problems? And what are some of the causes? Mahomes has 8 interceptions this season. Based on the number of pass attempts that he has and his interceptions that he has thrown, this is the highest rate of This is the highest rate that he has had in his career of interception percentage. The team struggling to keep the ball. They are fumbling it away. They are second worst, tied for the second most giveaways in the NFL. If you look at the wide receiver core, other than Travis Kelce, who's the it guy for the Chiefs offense? They're running the wrong routes. They're running through zones. They're failing to come back to the ball. You can kind of tell from the simple eye test, Patrick Mahomes doesn't trust his wide receivers. So because of that lack of trust, Casey actually leads in the most dropped passes in the league. Now you're going up against the number one offense. Your defense is in the middle of the pack for getting to opponent quarterbacks for pressure. Tua Tagovailoa could have a very great game. And because of that red zone issues, I like this also to go under, even though the total is a high 51. Under, because Mahomes can't score. What do you think?
Yeah, I tease the hell out of the Dolphins. Just between us, just every possible which way, with the Panthers, with the Bills. Look, this is a Dolphins team that has struggled on the road. Now, this isn't a divisional road game either. This is a Frankfurt, Germany. And this sounds really weird, and I try not to buy into this stuff too much, but there was a content creator who said all the teams that get to Europe early, like a day or two early, have all won. And that includes the Jags, who were already there, obviously, over the Bills. But I thought that was really interesting because the Chiefs just got there today. And the Dolphins have already been there for 3 days. So situationally,
okay.
the Dolphins have already been there and practicing and getting acclimated to the time change. The Chiefs, off that ugly Broncos loss, one thing I did want to look at, the only other thing I wanted to look at was to see who the Chiefs play next week. And of course, they're heading into a bye. So this could be a spot where, as you mentioned, number one passing offense in the Dolphins. It's going to be a good game. I agree with you. The Chiefs are broken right now. I let you talk me into the Broncos. And then I tweeted about it thinking I didn't because I forgot my paper at home and didn't take it to Nashville with me. And then I was at Clay's Halloween party, and Ariel had this little thing come up on her screen about Patrick Mahomes. And I was like, just had enough Vivas that I was like, you know what? I'm betting Broncos money line. And I did, and it worked out to our advantage. So great call by you there. But I agree. It was a play against the Chiefs, and they really showed it. Turnovers and missed routes. And I mean, there was no point in time, and I could be wrong. Now, again, I was at another game and then we went to a bar to watch the afternoon games. So I did miss some things, but there was not a point in time where I did not think I'm not going to cash this plus 280 on the Broncos. Like, not for
Right.
1 second. It was just wire to wire. The Chiefs beat themselves and the Broncos came to play.
Well, now the little caveat to that is that Patrick Mahomes did have the flu. So he's had
Yes.
a week to recover from that illness. However, if you're coming off of the flu, we've all had the flu. We know how like crap you feel. And now you're traveling across the world to a different country, different time change, sleep schedule's off. Halloween happened. I don't know. I'm not going to guess as to his health condition right now, but it still just continues to be a fade against the Chiefs. And against lesser opponents, maybe it hasn't been working, but now you're going up against number one. How are you going to counteract that? It's a big test, but I like the Dolphins. Is this something that you feel confident in that we can plug in, or do you want to keep it on the back
Yep.
burner for now?
Nope. I like the Dolphins.
Is okay. Well, then great. Those are the two ones that I loved. Is there any game on the slate that you and a second option that maybe you wanted to throw out?
So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of like kind of wonky things going on right now. With, so we got Tyler Badgett for the Bears, right? And they're back-to-back road games. And this is one that you and I talked about. Well, I sent in Survivor to talk to you and Ariel about, would be the Saints. And here's my problem. Do I think the Saints can win that game? Yeah. Do I think the Saints can cover that game? I'm not sure. I did not get to watch that Colts game last week. But let's just be honest. Badgett, I got to watch that entire Chargers game for our Survivor. And I thought, oh my God, what is going to happen? It's going to be so bad. But it was so easy. That was an easy W, 30-13 final. And it wasn't even really that close. I would love to have the Saints defense really step up and make this kid's life an absolute and living hell, right? And keep fading the Bears, who are 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 as a road dog. I know you liked the Saints last weekend and we spoke about it, and I didn't really have a big opinion. I told you I teased them. I didn't get to watch that game. So did the Saints somewhat turn a corner? Did we see something from Derek Carr that impressed you, that we'd be willing to lay 8.5 points with this team and a fade against Chicago, or do we not trust them in that role?
I guess my question to you is that the reason why I wanted to back the Saints was if there was ever an opportunity, who Derek Carr has not been a great quarterback this season. This has not been a good offense this season. But if there was ever an offense, a defense for the Saints to excel at, it was last week against the Colts, who are bottom of 5 against every defensive metric in touchdowns allowed, passing yards allowed. And then, of course, look, 38 points. This is the first time all season that they put up such production. Is the Bears defense comparable to that of the Colts? If you think yes, then you kind of attack it.
I got to look at the Bears defense a little bit further because I wasn't expecting you to really bring them up because they have played better against poor teams, right? We saw them dominate the Raiders. We saw them dominate the Commanders. Here's my thing, and Pam, I sent you and Ariel this list for Survivor I said, look, we have to play 20 teams out of 32. That leaves 12. So I did 12 that I don't want to use. And then there's 6. And this list is ever changing. And that's kind of my concern. The Saints were on that I don't trust list until last week. And now I upgraded them and said, okay, do I trust this team to win? Yes. But do I trust this team to cover? And that's why they're kind of on my long list. I think that they're absolutely worth a teaser play because, again, I don't see the Bears coming off that loss in LA, coming to New Orleans and being able to win this game. I think the Saints minus 2.5 is absolutely a play in a teaser, but I don't know if I like them minus 8.5. And the reason why I bring this up is because they were on my long list that's coupled with one other team. My long list is 4 teams this week. I played one. I walked the window with my hard-earned money with one game.
Well, we are trying to go 5-0. That's the whole point of doing this contest, right? So we can give ourselves a good position to maybe win a quarterly prize because we're obviously not going to do well in the overall grand scheme of things. So if we are trying to stick to just like a 5-0, if you don't feel confident about it, like as confident as you could be, maybe not consider it as your best bet, then let's put it on the long list and we'll keep it there for now. How about another option in backing the Giants against the Raiders? The Raiders are, I don't care if you have a new offensive coordinator, new coach, new, like, uh, lucky rabbit foot. I don't care what you got. You still suck. Your Raiders just look absolutely awful. First off, do you agree with the Giants? Is this something that you would rather just stay away from?
I did tease the Giants. I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but the teaser spots have been really good this year. And that's just full disclosure. This is going to be a lower total. I think this is a coin flip game. Look, you got the Raiders favored by more than a field goal off a short week. They just benched Jimmy G on his birthday. They just fired their GM and their head coach. Can it get much worse in Las Vegas? I don't think so. Yet they are
This is
still
the
a
bottom.
home favorite. This is the bottom. And I'll be honest with you, the Giants aren't much more to write home about. This is not a Giants
Right.
team that by any means has really impressed me. 13-10, when I saw that final score with the Jets, I thought it was halftime. I was like, what? Is this app frozen? Like, what a gross final NFL score. Give me a break. Yeah. I don't know. I don't
Well,
love
I will
this.
say you mentioned the Jets right now. I will say I'm glad that you mentioned at least one of the competitions because I think that's a big reason. That is a big reason why I'm interested in the Giants this week. Yes, the offense looks awful. Yes, the Giants as a whole are so lackluster, with or without Jones. Let's be honest. But if you look at the schedule that the Giants have faced, you faced, especially early in the season, one of the best defenses in San Francisco that was healthy and running, as we know, San Francisco to run. Miami, the number one offense. Buffalo, who still can be very competitive right now despite their troubles. And then the Jets defense. And you were still able to, you were still hanging in there with the Jets. Like, that's the best defense, in my opinion, right now in the league right now. Now the Giants, who held Buffalo to 14 points, hung with the killer Jets defense in a 3-point loss, gets the Raiders, who is in shambles in every aspect of their game, offensively, defensively. They can't run the ball. Jimmy G is throwing interceptions like crazy. And I mean, so is Daniel Jones. But at least give me the offense that has a little bit of balance to them. That's not the Raiders. They're averaging 71 fewer rushing yards than their opponent. They are so one-dimensional. When you are one-dimensional, you become easier to pick off, which is why he has so much interceptions. Now you get Jones, who's potentially back in the mix. We know him to be a mobile quarterback. You have Barkley, who of course is, I mean, they are more balanced for that reason. This is why I would want to continue to fade the Raiders until you prove that you're not a offense that's just going to throw pick after pick after pick. No.
Listen, I
Not
don't
strong
have
enough.
much else to contribute. The only other game that I was going to bring up would have been said Jets.
I was going
Or,
to bring up the Jets too.
okay, let's talk about the Jets first. They're the
Right.
Jets. They have a great defense. Could Brandon Staley looked any better head coaching last week? Not in my opinion. But I
Against the
do
worst
have to
team.
wonder here if maybe the Jets defense is well, let's see. What are they going to be able to do here? Let me see what my notes say. The Jets, oh, here we go. This is a funny note. The Jets might be the Iowa of the NFL.
I love that. That's a perfect comparison.
Sometimes when I type notes at 2:00 in the morning, I forget that I say things like that. But like, let's be honest. What does
Nailed
Iowa
it.
do? They have a great defense and they win ugly, right? They just can't. 15.5 points per game. Look, they're winning off and covering off defensive and special teams touchdowns. That's it. The Chargers don't have much of a defense, especially pass defense. But again, Justin Herbert looked really good. So we'll kind of see. I mean, that was against the Bears. So we'll kind of see here.
That was against the Bears.
Yeah, well, I can kind of see where the Jets might be a play. Why do you like the Jets?
Well, the reason why I like the Jets is because of that defense. And you nailed it. They are the Iowa of the NFL. They're second best in touchdowns allowed. They've only given up 6 yards per pass attempt. That's the third best in the league. But more importantly, you have to look at the quarterbacks that they have faced. And we did it a couple weeks ago against the Eagles. Why was I so gung-ho about backing the Eagles, about backing the Jets against the Eagles? Because of the defense. In 3 of their 4 home games, they have faced Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Between those 3 quarterbacks, they've allowed only 3 passing touchdowns, forced 8 interceptions, and 2 sacks. Now, Justin Herbert looked hella good last week. That was against the Bears, though. And that's why we had him in Survivor. And it was at one point, it's like, plug him in, 8.5-point favorites, got it. But if you look at the previous defenses that Justin Herbert has faced, which is right before the Bears, Dallas, the Chiefs, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 6 sacks, 2 of his 3 lowest completion percentages. Now you're going up against an even better defense who plays even better in their home stadium. Now, I don't really want to ever back a team. I did a tweet earlier that said, I'm putting too much emphasis on defenses. But you have to when it comes to the Jets. But if ever an offensive reason to want to back them is that running back Breece Hall, he is complimentary in that passing game. Back-to-back weeks, has 50-plus receiving yards, including 76 last week, plus a receiving touchdown. It's those short underneath passes that can really help dink and dunk football, it makes total sense. That's Iowa. Dink and dunk football, stretch the field through these underneath passes, play keep away, and the Chargers are 30th in receiving yards allowed to receiving backs. So he could potentially be the entire offense for them. So that way I'm not over here like, oh my God, Zach Wilson. But you back the Jets because of that
Zach
defense.
Wilson's never fun to back, obviously. But look, I just fading Brandon Staley's been really profitable. Fading the Jets has also been profitable. But Jets is an underdog this year. I think we're 1-0 betting them. I'd have to pull up my spreadsheet and see, but pretty dang close.
Yeah, it was to the Eagles.
Correct. Yes, and they won outright. So I'm with you. I like the Jets. I would be willing to put them down on the long list.
Okay. Well then, I think we're out of options.
The only other one that I considered, and no, I'm not betting this with my hard-earned money, would be my boy Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. Obviously, we've talked about the Texans several times. I had the Panthers last week. I didn't even watch a second of that game. Speaking of the Jets-Giants game being ugly, 13-12. What a riveting football game that was. Look,
Big Ten football.
Listen, the Texans as road favorites just got to play against. Now they're a home favorite, right? And this team, I'm going to give them all the praise in the world under head coach DeMeco Ryans. I obviously really like CJ Stroud. He's shown me that he is really good and plays pretty flawless football for a rookie. I think that Tampa's defense is starting to be a little bit better. They really are tough to score on in the red zone, even though they do give up a ton of yards. So I do think that this is a Bucks kind of spot where I can see this being a 17-16 final and the game lands 1 and the Bucks get the cover. Houston might win. I know a lot of people are playing Houston in Survivor this week. I definitely don't have the guts to do that by any means. But a very, very slight nod to the Bucks here.
The reason why I would agree with this is because of the injuries on the Texan side. Out is the center, injury reserve. There are 2 centers. I mean, who do you have now? Oh, yeah. G. Scruggs and Jarrett Patterson. Okay. That's your injuries to the offensive line. And then you have Damon Pierce, who didn't practice Thursday. Okay, so there goes your run game. Now you're putting it all into the hands of CJ Stroud, who, yes, is a great quarterback, but now there's zero balance to this. And then you also didn't practice today is Robert Woods, your receiver. So simply because of injuries, this could, after this loss last week, I don't disagree with this. And then if you look at the schedule for the Bucks, they have faced some pretty good opponents. I mean, you face the Lions, you face Buffalo. I don't feel strong about it, but I don't disagree with it. So do you want to just plug it in? Because whatever.
All right,
was there any other option other than?
Okay, sorry, I got dogs barking in the background. All right, I've got the Bengals, the Seahawks, the Dolphins that we got plugged in. We actually like 6 games that we actually agree on this week. Saints, Jets, Giants, Texans. Which is your favorite of those 4?
Not Texans.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bucks. Excuse me, Bucks. Sorry. So we've got Bengals, Seattle, Miami, Saints,
Dolphins.
Jets, Giants, and Bucks. Out of the Saints, Jets, Giants, and Bucks, who do you like the most?
I mean, isn't it like super easy to just continue fading the Bears
It's
until you
very
prove
easy to
that you
fade
can
the
show
Bears.
something? Because at least defensively, this is why the Saints continue to be in low-scoring games, because who are they going to pass to? Who's the Bears going to pass to? Whatever his name is as a quarterback.
It
What are they
is
going to
really
do
funny to me
offensively?
how nobody can pronounce this kid's last name. I'm pretty sure it's Badgett, but I've heard it
Bajan, Bagel. I'm just going to call him Bagel.
Baguette.
Baguette. Let's call him Baguette. Baguette.
He's gonna win outright.
I'm
He's
fine
gonna take
plugging
a
in the Saints.
survivor for making fun of his name.
You're going up against the fourth best passing defense with a backup quarterback who we've seen just cannot do anything. And if you didn't produce anything against a Chargers defense, you're not going to do anything against a Saints defense. Is that too big of a spread for you to do? The Jets, we both like the Jets. At least with the Jets, what we know, we're getting a strong defense at home.
Yep, I agree. So that's it. Bengals, Seahawks, Dolphins, Saints, Jets.
Saints minus 8.5 against the Bears. Then that is our 5, and I feel better with that. Fade the Giants.
This is like the fastest
avoid
we've
the
ever
Giants.
done a show, Pam.
I know. Let's hope it goes 5-0 because this feels a little bit too easy right now. No, but yeah, you said it. That is our card. Kelly's best bet is Seahawks +6 to the Ravens. Mine is Bengals 2-point home favorites to the Bills. Dolphins +1.5 to the Chiefs. That is a Germany game. Jets +3 at home to the Chargers, and Saints -8.5 to the Bears. Well, then that's it. Those are our 5 against the spread picks in a record time.
Think long, think wrong, baby. Let's go.
All right, that does it for another episode of Stack Stats.